Hi, this is Mayor Mike Ghassali, Mayor of the Borough of Montvale. We are here with the expert, Mr. Jonathan Gilliam. The truth have arrived.
Hey, now I'm back in town. This time I'll shake you down. I'm taking back my crown, 'cause I'm the best around. And my name, you shout it out. I want to hear it loud. You hang your head in shame. Don't you forget this day.
This is Jonathan Gilliam back in on the experts. And as you heard there, the introduction from Mike Ghassali, the mayor of Montvale, New Jersey. He's running for Congress. And the interesting thing about Mike is that he is an immigrant to the United States, a legal immigrant who came here from Syria. And we're going to talk to him today about he's running for Congress. And it's a pretty amazing story. I think that in his own words, what you're going to hear is similar in a lot of ways to Drago's story that was on here on episode 2. Drago being a Navy SEAL who came over from Poland after spending time in a Polish prison because he was part of the Freedom Underground, and he went to an education or a re-education camp for almost 3 years, and then finally got out, came to the United States, became an American citizen, and served as a Navy SEAL for 20 years. And this is what happens, as Mike will tell you, when you come over here and you can immigrate the correct way for the right reason. So, Mike, it's, as I said before when I spoke here, it's an honor to have you on this podcast. This is podcast number 5. And SHOT Show took me down for about 2 weeks. I'm finally coming back where I can actually have a voice, and but it is great to have you here and in Montvale, New Jersey.
Thank you, Jonathan. And first of all, thank you for your service. It's an honor to be with you, too.
You got it. I serve. One of the reasons why I serve, and I've always felt, compelled to serve, is to give people like yourself the opportunity to come to a free nation and make the most of yourself.
Absolutely. We take freedom for granted every single day, but I lived on the other side. I know what's it like to not have your freedom, and I am here to run to make sure that we keep that freedom. We want to stay free.
Yeah. So tell me about, let's start from the very beginning, where you were born, and then we'll go from there. I mean, because it's really a pretty fascinating story from start to finish.
I was born in Aleppo in Syria, and I'm going to tell you a short story that will put things in perspective for you, Jonathan, and for all your listeners. The year was 1978. Okay? I was 13 years old, going to school just like normal days. The schools in Syria, in Aleppo, in Syria, where you have the boys separated from the girls, and at the age of 13, you are destined to go to the army. So the boys, start to dress in the military uniform. And you are taught how to use weapons, starting at 13 and 14 and 15.
Now, in Syria at that point in time, was it a Muslim and Christian mix?
It was.
And,
it was.
And now that's not the case so much, or are there still Christians there?
Minorities. There are very few. Most of them went to Europe, United States, and some went to Canada. But on that one day in 1978, going to school, and there's roll call every single day, and you're supposed to look down. That's out of respect to the teachers and to the folks there. On that one day, I looked up, and the teacher slapped me. And I said, "Why did you slap me?" Well, he slapped me one more time, but this time I fell to the ground. Mm-hmm. And he began to kick me. And all I see is giant feet coming at me, and to my face and to my head. I went home and I told my father that. And that on very same day, 1978, my father decided, we're going to leave this country. I'm going to take my boys out of here, and we're going to go to the United States. We waited for our turn. And in 1980, we arrived at JFK. I arrived with 2 plastic bags. And I had to meet my parents somewhere in Europe because I was not allowed to leave Syria, so I had to be smuggled out of Syria to Europe, and then we met back at JFK with my parents. I was 16 when we arrived here.
Now, was Syria at war at that point?
In 1980, they were starting. The Muslim Brotherhood we're starting the uprising.
The same Muslim Brotherhood that is
same.
friends with Obama and
Same ones.
Wow.
Same ones. Same names are still in play today. The fathers maybe died. Now the sons are there.
wow.
We arrived in Jonathan on Friday night in 1980. It was in September. And on Monday, I found a job making bagels.
At you were 14 at that, 13?
I was 16 when we arrived.
16, okay.
And then I went to Dumont High School. They took us to Dumont, and we thought Dumont was the capital of the United States. Dumont, Dumont, New Jersey. And
I'm sure there are people in New Jersey that think that New Jersey is the capital of the country, of the world, actually.
we went to I went to Dumont High School, and there are books, there's pens. The teachers are happy, and everyone smiling. And for the first time in my life, I saw girls in shorts.
Wow. That must have, the whole thing was a shock, I guess.
That
at
was a
point in
shock.
time.
I've never seen that before.
Right.
And then I went to school. I started my own business in supply chain management. I sold that company to a company in Pittsburgh. Then FedEx bought that company. I retired for about a week when I was 41. Then I went to work for Feed the Children for about 10 years, working with needy families all over the country. And then I ran for council. First term, a second term, then I ran for mayor. I won in a landslide, which surprised me. And then I just ran again for my second term as mayor without opposition.
Wow.
And then I decided that I can take this experience. I came through this country legally. I can speak with authority on how the immigration system works. I can help this country, and I can make sure that we secure our borders. I can work with our president. And I said, I want to run for Congress. I have more to give. And that's where we are. I'm running for Congress in the 5th District in New Jersey.
So let's go back to when you were in Syria as a kid. Was it... So when we were talking to Drago, we were talking about Poland, and that was really a socialist. He really defined the difference between socialism, communism, and how really it's the same thing. Once you get to a certain point in socialism, you can't really differentiate between the two, really. In Syria, what would you have classified what you grew up under until the age of 16?
It's a form of socialism, Jonathan. You wait on the bread line. For hours, and we have pictures of that waiting on the bread line. You come to the bread line, and then, well, there's no more bread. Come back tomorrow.
And bread is so important. Everybody that I talk to who grew up in a socialist country, it's bread and maybe beans or something. I don't know what it is over there, but bread always seems to be a mainstay with socialism. That's like the primary thing that you fight to get.
For some, that is the main course.
Bread.
That's all they eat. Bread. And put some water on top of it so it fluffs. And then some sugar on top of that, and there's your course. There's your like your meal. Then you get those vouchers. So if you are a family of 4, you get, and say that you want rice, you get vouchers, and you can only buy rice based on how many vouchers you have. So mid-month you run out of vouchers, no more rice. So now you go, and that's where corruption starts. Now you go to someone in the government, you pay them off, they give you more vouchers. And that's why all socialist countries, there's so much corruption in those countries.
The people, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but I would say the majority of people that are young that are voting for Bernie Sanders have no idea that this is the potential, or this is the way that socialism goes. They don't see, and I don't think they study socialism at all. They just study Bernie. But it will always end up this way.
They think it's cool to be socialist.
Yeah.
They think socialism is the new thing. It's cool. They teach that. Well, they don't teach it. They talk about it in schools. All these young kids. I have 2 teenagers, and their friends think Bernie is cool. Sharing is cool. That's how they see this. They don't know the pain that the people who live in socialist countries live through.
Right.
It's pain.
Right. And they think that free is cool or sharing is cool. The thing that they don't realize, that I keep seeing over and over again, is that they don't realize that you can share now. You can have groups of people who work together. Like if, here's the funny thing when it comes to health insurance. We'll talk about this in a little bit, how they want universal health insurance and all this stuff. These people could be helping people out. And I don't know one person that takes a month's salary, sets it to the side, and then goes around and makes sure that, they could pick a family out that's poor and pay for their teeth cleaning and things like that. Nobody does that. Nobody's going to do that. And what they don't realize is that the government is going to take almost as much money away as if they, put away a month or 2 months of their money to help others. If they get into a socialist government, they're going to take a lot more than that.
100%, absolutely. Imagine this, Jonathan. Take the front door of your house, and everyone is welcome to come to your house now. We can come, we use your couches, we go through your fridge, we eat your food, and then demand that you restock the fridge because we are in your house. You can't allow that. That's what we have right now. That's what they're pushing for. No borders. So let's have everyone come through, and let's make sure that they have free healthcare, free shelter and food and schooling and insurance. Who's going to pay for all that?
Right.
It's you and I.
Yeah. And so you lived through all this stuff, right? You went through until the age of 16. You saw and lived in a country where it had gotten to a point where you had to go stand in a bread line just to get bread, vouchers to get rice. And what was the rest of the day like? I mean, were you able to do basically whatever you wanted? I mean, you said you'd never seen girls in shorts before. How restrictive was it in Syria up until the age of 16 when you left?
If you were to walk down the street and you look at the picture of the president, which are all over the place, and look at it the wrong way, you are going to be arrested and maybe disappear for a while.
How do they know if you look at it the wrong way? Like if you give it a scoff?
Yeah, exactly. There are people there watching you. The government,
Wow.
so this is what the socialists do, and people here have no idea how this works. It gives a perpetual power to the government. Now the government can control what you can eat, when you can eat it, and how you can eat it, and how much you can eat, where to go and where not to go, what time you should be home and what time you should leave to work. It's all controlled by the government. Make no mistake about this. That's not freedom. That's not your way of life. We are so spoiled in here, where you can go down the street now and do shopping anytime you want. New York City, 24 hours a day.
Right. Although they're killing that now because of Mayor de Blasio, and they've raised the minimum wage so high. Here's the interesting thing about New York, and I'm sure it's probably the same way in Syria, is that they will raise the minimum wage, although they wouldn't have even raised the minimum wage in Syria. But here they raise the minimum wage, but they don't do anything to regulate the cost of housing. So people still don't live in Manhattan, and they still can't afford to live in New York City, even with $15 an hour. But what happens is when they raise that minimum wage, now the bars and restaurants and the entertainment is closed at 2 o'clock in the morning in New York City because they don't want to pay people to stay there later because it's the cost to doing business ratio is so far off that they just close at 2 or 11. And the city is asleep now at night.
Raising the minimum wage is the biggest scam. It's a scam because the minimum wage jobs were not designed for someone to live on. It's for a young kid to get a job, get something on their resume, get some experience, and then go to school and then move on. Now what they're doing is we'll give you $15 per hour. Maybe you can live on it, and that's all you'll do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's not what this was designed for. That's what I'm talking about, the perpetual power. They want to control what you can do and what you can't do. So, someone comes to this country at $15 per hour, maybe they'll be able to afford to live in a one-bedroom apartment. But that's it. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
And that's what they want you to do.
Yeah. So you got here at the age of 16. And then how long did it take you all to become, like, how did that work? What was the process of that?
So to get here legally, in capital letters.
Well, let me ask you this one thing. Your father, you said when you came home that day and you'd been smacked and kicked, and he said, that's it, we're gone. What was it about, it's very inspiring to hear these answers, but what was it about America? Your father didn't say, that's it, we're moving to London, right? What was it about, or we're not, that's it, we're done, we're moving to Germany. What was it about the United States where he said, we're going there?
At that time, when Reagan was going to run, was in the run, and he was going to win, the United States was the highest benchmark. If you want the highest, the best, you go to the United States.
Right.
My father was a tailor, still is a tailor. He's 85. He has a shop in Bergenfield, New Jersey, and he's still a tailor. He's a custom tailor. And
does he make dress shirts? I may have to come see him.
Yeah.
All right.
But
we'll talk about that later.
He's very selective on his clientele.
Well, I'd have to see if he select me then. Oh, my goodness. All right, so go ahead.
But the process was you have to have a sponsor, number one.
Yeah.
Someone has to sponsor you to come here so you don't become a public charge.
Right.
You have to sign that you're going to learn English, you're going to get a job, you will not get anything. I'm still learning, by the way, John.
Yeah, but the fact that they would even say that is remarkable because nowadays I don't know if they still do that. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you have to have a trade. You have to add value to the social life here. You can't just come in and say, okay, here I am.
Right.
No, you have to come in. You could be a carpenter, you could be a tailor, you could be a doctor. You have to have some sort of a trade that can be used in this country. That's in 1980. And to qualify for all those, so we did qualify.
Yeah.
We waited for 2 years, and then they said, okay, you can go now. Except you, Mike, you can't go. Because at the age of 15 now, they take your ID card and they give you a different ID card. So now you have to go to the army. You cannot leave this country.
Oh, so it wasn't the United States. It was saying it was Syria.
Syria. You can't leave the country. So my father was able to get me out of Syria to Europe in one country there. And then we met someone there who got me to a different country. And then we ended up at JFK.
Wow. This is just such an incredible story. Let's take a break real quick. We're going to come back. I want to get into what happened when you got to JFK. You yourself, I mean, did you have paperwork? Did you not have paperwork? What was happening? We'll take a break. We'll be right back on The Experts. Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. You know, I talk about this all the time. My book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. Well, how many of you out there on a daily basis really think about your safety, your business's safety, your children's safety, and the awareness of understanding how these attackers think? Remember, it doesn't matter if it's a pedophile, a rapist, somebody who's trying to get into your computer system. These are all attackers. And with the way things are changing in this country, you have to be aware of what's going on and how these people think so that you can look at yourself. And that's what this book does. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It helps you see your life from the attacker's point of view. Divide it up into sectors and then target each sector so you can turn around and truly build defenses, awareness, and plans of action. There's nothing else out there like it. Before you get a camera, before you get a gun, get your awareness. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. Go get it, and let's get back to the show. This is Jonathan Gilliam back on The Experts. Let's get back with my good buddy, Mayor Mike Ghassali. Now, did you have, when you did that, you go to the State Department and say, I'm seeking asylum, because they had papers, you didn't.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did. It was a long process. It was a different process. I actually had to have different IDs made up at that time to be able to leave Syria.
Right.
But then when we arrived at JFK, we were given our green card at the airport.
Wow.
And then we waited 5 years, 6 years. In 1987 then is when we became American citizens under President Ronald Reagan. And that's where my allegiance is. Been a Republican since.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing country.
Wow. And so the day you became American citizen, let's talk about that real quick. How old were you?
So this was in 1987. I had to be 23, 24.
So I was graduating high school in 1987. We're about 5 years apart, I believe.
Yeah.
And so you're becoming an American citizen. Tell everybody about that day. I mean, for you, having come from where you were and your father, did all of you become American citizens on the same day?
Same day.
And were you together when you all did that together?
We did. And an interesting thing about that, when we arrived at JFK, we didn't speak any English. And there was a long line because all the planes came at the same time at like 12 a.m.
Right.
on Friday night. And the custom officer in that airport, the lane that we were in, he said, "Are you all together?" We said, "Yes." It was 6 of us. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother and my parents. We said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, you move on this side." So we moved on that side.
Now, is he speaking to you in
English?
In English.
In English. And he gave us some paperwork we didn't know what to do with. We find out in 1987 that because he wanted to move the lines, he made us all born on January 1st.
Oh, wow.
So my legal date now is born on January 1st, and then the year. So my license, all 6 of us. So on December 31st, we have a big party for our birthdays.
So it says even on your birthday that you were born in 1987, or I mean, not in 1980.
In January
78.
No, on January 1st.
Yeah.
So me, my brother, my 2 sisters, my parents were all born on January 1st.
Oh, okay, but they put the proper year in
the
there.
year somehow they got right. I don't know how, but
That's so interesting.
But the actual day.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is my sister is my treasurer for my mayor's race, and my brother is is her co-treasurer. So we go to the bank, and they want my license, and she says, "Oh, you're a New Year born baby." I said, "Yes, I am." And then she takes my sister's license. "Oh, you too?"
And now they're like,
"Okay."
Yeah.
And then she takes my brother's license. Wait a minute now.
Yeah.
So we have to explain the story to them.
That's funny. Yeah, well, at least you have people aware enough to catch that. I know a lot of people wouldn't even catch that right now, in these days. I mean, they walk around so unaware a lot of the times. I've seen the funniest thing is when you see some of the checks that have been passed. You can look up stuff online where they show checks that banks have cashed because people stole checks and they cash them. It's unbelievable. First of all, if you're going to steal a check, at least know how to fill it out. And secondly, if you're going to work at a bank, know what to look for. I mean, it was unbelievable. They put like the amount that for the charge or that the check was being written out for, where the signature is, and all kinds of craziness. But so I digress there. So let's talk about. Okay, you were the day you became. That's what we were getting at. The day you became American citizen. Talk about that day. What did it mean to you? What did it mean to your family to go in there, and what was that process like?
To become a citizen, you have to take a test.
Yeah.
They ask you about the presidents, the governors, some of the rules, some of the amendments in the Constitution. And then the proudest time is when we took the pledge. And in the pledge is to protect the United States from foreign and domestic. And
so they have you actually say that pledge.
I remember that
yeah.
in part of the pledge. And we took it very seriously. Mm-hmm. We had the American flags. I remember that in our hands. And it was the proudest day of my life, saying, okay, I am now an American citizen.
Right.
I held dual citizenship, the Syrian and the American, until about 6-7 years ago, when I decided that I want to help the United States. Since I know the language, I can speak it, read and write professionally in different dialects, that I can actually help the United States. And to be able to do that, I had to get clearance. And to get the clearance, I had to resend my Syrian citizenship. So I am as American as they come, Jonathan. I am an American citizen.
Love it.
And that's all I got right now.
Yeah. Now, again, let's go back to that day. When you guys, well, first of all, that test, most people that are American, that are born American citizens can't pass that test. Most people, or at least they're going to miss a lot on there. I've talked to a lot of people who have taken that test, and it's pretty profound. In fact, I think that should be one of the things that kids take before they graduate high school. They should have to take and pass that test.
I agree.
Just to make sure they know what their country is all about. They don't even teach U.S. history in most of these schools anymore now. They teach, social studies, and history is all jacked up in schools now. But so you go there that day, and you're with your family, and as you went through that process, what was the feeling inside of you for those people who were born here? What is the feeling like knowing that you are now, right now you're not a citizen, and then you're going to become a citizen? What is that feeling like? What is that feeling like?
To feel that you are free. To have that feeling that you have free and you have the power of the United States behind you, as long as you are lawful and you follow the rules of this country.
You really felt the difference though from the day before to the day when you swore.
Oh, absolutely! I am now an American citizen. I have the power and the might of the whole country behind me, as long as I do the right thing and as long as I am a lawful citizen. Yeah. Where there are no tanks on the street, there is no machine guns, there's no AK-47s. You're not training your 13-year-old on how to dismantle an AK-47. Instead, you have books and you are learning, you are inventing, and it got me to say, okay, what can I do, next to help this country? Because this is just an amazing country.
Right. Most American citizens have no idea about the statement that you made about the weight behind them, the weight of the United States, the power of the United States behind them. They don't think about that at all. It's not a concept that most people understand that are born here.
But it doesn't come just free just like that.
Right.
They give you something, but you have to give back. You have to always give back to your community. You can't just take. Yes, they will support you, and they will make sure that you free your First Amendment and Second Amendment, that your constitutional rights are protected.
Right.
But you have to do your part also. Where we have people now, these youngsters, even people I know here, where it's all about me, 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 me.
Right.
No, you need to give back, folks. You need to help your communities.
I think that's the draw with a lot of young people and older people too for socialism, is that it's it appears in this phase of socialism, not where you were at in the breadline, but in this phase of socialism, it's very much a me, me, me. What can the government do for me? And these people in the government say, well, we're going to do all of these things for you.
Right.
But that's all a lie. Because eventually, well, they're not, first of all the things that Bernie says he's going to do for free, there's no way they can do that stuff for free.
They can't. And Bernie says waiting in lines for food is a good thing. I don't know what he's smoking or what he's eating or what's there in the air, but it makes absolutely no sense because they have no idea. They have no clue how to live in a socialist country, how to live under...
He does. I mean, he knows the reality of it. I think don't let him fool you. He's not fooling you, but most of the people that are probably listening to this, Bernie knows. I mean, that's where he went on his honeymoon or what. He's confused that whole story. The story is he either got married there or he went there on his honeymoon.
Right.
But nonetheless, between him and de Blasio working for the communist Nicaraguans when we were fighting them down there, he went and worked for 2 weeks with them and was an avid communist. And then he went to Russia as well with his wife. It was like between these two individuals, they know exactly what the reality is of what you lived through. They know that.
They do. The draw is for someone like Bernie to say, follow me and I'll give you everything you want for free.
Yeah.
I will take care of you. Just follow me. That's where the issue is.
Yeah.
But they don't, realize, okay, who's going to pay for all these things for free?
Yeah. Nobody's going to pay. So you swear in, you get your citizenship. As you walk out of there after you've done that, like all I can kind of, equate this to is as a Christian, when I got baptized and they dunked me into the water and I was 16, I think. And when I came back up, I felt like I was a new person. Even though I had, studied my Bible and I always had faith and I'd already been saved, for some reason, when I got baptized and I came back up and I just had to, do that, it's an act that you do. I just felt like things were different. I can only imagine that that's similar to the way that you felt after you swore an oath, did your pledge, you are baptized in freedom. It must be an amazing feeling.
It's an amazing experience, amazing feeling. It's almost like, okay, I don't care what else happened behind me right now. This is my brand new life. This is my new home. This is my new country. I went home and we rearranged the whole house. It was all just now. It's a new life now. No one can take us back. No one can take us back to the brutality that we saw. I mean, people would be disappearing for months and they come back missing fingernails, missing fingers, missing arms, for saying something about democracy or saying something wrong about the president or the government.
See, this is where most people get the First Amendment wrong. They think that freedom of the press they literally believe that was written in there for media. You know how media always says that they are the fourth estate or the keepers of the truth or all that's all nonsense. And then they say it's constitutional. But what you just said is the reality of the First Amendment. Freedom to say what you want to say and freedom from being from fear of retribution for saying that, and the ability, this is where press comes from, to disseminate that information. without fear of the government coming after you. They used the word press instead of dissemination because at that point the printing press had just come online, and so that was they wanted you to have freedom of speech to say it and freedom of the printing press to disseminate it. And I don't think most people get that. They equate that with media, and it's not. It's about us. The Constitution is about us individually. And so it's very interesting for you to say that exact thing that you did, because that is exactly what it was supposed to protect us from. And if you look at every socialist country, that's what the government goes after.
Yeah, some people abuse the First Amendment and they say the dumbest of things, just so they can get some attention.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant for that. You are free now to say anything you want about the president, about this country, about the government. No one is going to come and lock you up for it.
Right.
That's not the way in those socialist countries, in Syria, in some of the Middle Eastern countries, Iraq, where I know someone, his tongue was cut because he said something about democracy, that democracy is good.
Oof.
His tongue was cut. That's how they deal with that.
Yeah, here what we've seen now is though the censorship, where you if you have a message, they will do everything they can. If it's not a far left message, they'll do everything they can to shut that message down. That must scare you when you see and hear about those things. Like I was banned on YouTube for 3 months because I criticized those kids in Parkland High School who were saying all kinds of, after the school shooting, this tragic school shooting, they then go out and turn it into a we hate the NRA and we hate guns. None of that had anything to do with what happened in Parkland High School. It was a crazy kid who should have been put in jail multiple times, but because of policies put down from the Obama administration and this far left government and sheriff and things in that area, this shooter was allowed to continue to work towards that massive day of killing. It has to send shivers through your spine when you see these types of things occurring that are similar and more common now here and similar to the way it was in Syria.
Because they have the power. Because they have the power to turn your voice off.
Yeah.
That's what. So on the bigger scale, on the countryside scale, that's exactly what they're doing. They can censor you because they have the power.
Right.
YouTube and the social media sites and even some of the groups here where they have the power to censor you and to say, okay, we want to shut you up because you are saying the wrong thing.
Right.
The government should not be allowed to do that because of your First Amendment. You can say whatever you want to say.
Right.
Just don't say stupid things.
Well, I always say it like this. The First Amendment gives you the freedom to say whatever you want, but it does not protect you from what's going to happen when you say it to certain people. They'll turn around and punch you if you say the wrong thing. There's nothing in the First Amendment that says you will be protected by that person punching you in the face if you call them a name. But it does say, hey, if you have a thought and if you feel a certain way, you can say it. You're going to have to face the consequences of it, though.
That's true.
But you are protected. You are protected from, maybe not from an individual that you say something about, but you are protected from the government punching you back.
Right. And you have to respect the First Amendment. You can't just abuse it. Someone can stand up and say, I am going to kill the president because I'm protected, my speech is protected. Right. I can say that. You can't say crap like that.
Yeah.
Because now you have to suffer the consequences.
And you can't go into a theater and say that it's on fire and or go out and cause a riot. Those things are not protected by the First Amendment.
No, the First Amendment is you can say what you feel, what you think about different things, but respect it. Don't just abuse it. And some people take that and define it in a different way, like what they did for you, and they ban you for 3 months because they didn't agree with what you said.
Right.
But they had the power because you are on their platform.
Right. It all comes down to power, really. That's why Bernie and people like that are so driven. And I would imagine in Syria when you were living there, the power that those people in government wielded over you, those groups of people you said that kind of, the generations, the power that they wield It's not that like our president's a very powerful person, but our Constitution keeps him from wielding that power over us. But there was no gap stop from the government there.
They make you feel like they're doing you a favor to let you live. That you don't have the right to live and you don't have the right to eat, but they make you feel that, okay, they're doing me a big favor by allowing me to eat rice and they're allowing me to have electricity. And that goes on from this time to this time, and then there's no more electricity.
Right.
You had one channel was operated by the government, and we just felt, thank you, because you are giving us this one channel. They make you feel that they are the power and you are nothing. Be thankful that we even give you this one channel.
That right there, what you just said, is what scares me to death about the way that the people in this country, at least a large part of the country, is willing to give away their freedoms to people like Bernie Sanders and these far left. It's not just Bernie. I mean, the Clintons were the same way. And anybody who runs for office in the Democrat Party has to know that they're aligned with this mindset. But that's what is crazy, is that there are people thinking that if they give away their freedoms and the control of certain things to the government, it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, the biggest mistake, the biggest misconception, and I may offend some people by saying this: if I have a dog that follows me everywhere, but I have to feed her all the time, she's like, feed me, and I'll do whatever you want.
Right.
Feed me. That's how it was in Syria. Just so we can live, just we can have some freedom to walk around and have some food. And thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for allowing us to live and to breathe and to eat. That's the feeling. So that's the perpetual power. It's all, and after a while, that becomes the norm. This is how life is. The president and the government and the Ba'ath Party and they are in control. They're controlling your life, what to watch, what to eat, when to go, where to go, and what not to do, and be thankful that we are allowing you to do these things.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, these stories are just shocking, yet people, they just don't get what they're doing when they look at people like Bernie Sanders and want to turn all their freedoms over to the government. It never ends up right. I mean, anyway, let's take a break real quick. We're going to come back. I got some more questions for you before I let you go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. Check it out. This new social media, the Facebook killer. What is it? It's called Connect Zing. That's right, Connect Zing, folks. What it does is eliminates the censorship. My good buddy Drago, who was on episode 2, we were also talking about socialism and all these different things. He created this Connect Zing so that you don't have to worry about being censored anymore. If you're conservative or even if you're liberal and you want to say whatever you want to say, you're free to say it on Connect Zing. Don't worry anymore about all this type of censorship. If you want to put a video up or you want to put a post up, Connect Zing is the place to go. Drago has designed it so it's familiar. It looks familiar, but without the background censorship that's going on in this buying and selling of your information. ConnectZing.com. Go check it out. Join it. I'm on there. Find me. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Let's take our social media back away from the leftists in this country in Silicon Valley and put it in the hands of somebody like Drago who will respect your freedom of speech. ConnectZing.com. And let's get back to the show. It's Jonathan Gilliam on The Experts. Now, I say that's unbelievable, but it seems to be repeating itself in many, many countries around the world and potentially here now. When you left that day and your family left that day, what was it like? You wake up the next night. I'm sure that whole day was euphoric, but the next day you wake up. Now, what is it like from that point forward?
Just seeing the green grass, seeing the cars, seeing the
even though you were here before, it's different.
It was all different. Everything now is a different world for us.
Yeah.
We're walking down the street. You're talking to people now. I am an American citizen. I mean, the pride in that.
Yeah.
And someone a few days ago said, "You're not a legal citizen." So I actually dug out my original citizenship. I had a mustache then.
Yeah.
It looked funny. I had hair. And,
Yeah, we all did back then.
And I said, "This document, this is my life.
Mhm.
This is my freedom. This is my ticket to freedom." And I would fight for it. I would fight for this country. I'm fighting now.
Yeah, that's one important thing I think that you have shown, and I always try to say this. Yet I know everybody thanks their veterans for their service. I'm a veteran, and people say, "Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done." But the reality is, all citizens really do have a duty to serve in one way or another. It doesn't mean that you have to be mayor. It doesn't mean you have to be a Navy SEAL, but you should be watching out for each other and helping each other out. I mean, all these people, like I was saying earlier, they want to, they want the government to come in and have universal health care, but I've never seen any of them offer to pay for somebody's teeth cleaning for their kids because their teeth are so bad. I mean, if you can serve each other in many different ways. In fact, opening up in a business and working hard to make that successful, giving people jobs, that's service to your country.
100% to the country and to the people. If you come up with a service that is needed, yes, there's some sacrifices, and people say, well, why should we pay a CEO $2 million and someone makes $15 an hour? Well, these guys are contributing. They came up with an idea. They sacrificed their family life.
Right.
They're on the road. They're out of this country working, making things happen. There's no equality. We have to make everyone equal.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're thinking. I have no idea. When I had my own company, I would leave on a Monday, come back on a Friday, and I sacrificed my family life for probably a good 5 years. I missed my kids' life when they were during their soccer games. I was not there. I will never get that time back.
Right.
That's a sacrifice I made, so I can come up with a process, with a system, so the food is shipped from point A to point B with minimum damages.
But here's what's interesting. Let's say you were home every day, but you didn't start a company, and you guys went on subsistence, the chances of your kids growing up to be worth anything would be far less. The fact that you went out, worked, even though you missed that time with them, just who you were and showing what, giving them, living by example and showing them that you need to go out and make some of yourself. This is service back to your country. That affects your children.
100%, and I'm very proud of them. My son, I have a 17 and a 25. The 25-year-old started 2 businesses on his own already, and he wanted to be a police officer. So you are 100% correct. They see what I did. I actually was an auxiliary police officer for a while too, in Westwood, and then I was shooting with the New Jersey Civil Defense Pistol League, representing Westwood. And they saw me in uniform. They saw me working for the community,
right,
volunteering. And so he's doing that now. The younger one, 17, he's a senior in high school. He wants to be a chiropractor and a physical therapist. And I love it.
Yeah. But see, that's what happens when kids see their parents actually doing something, making something themselves. And again, you don't have to be necessarily a business owner, but if you're a parent who has ethics and morals and you work and you discipline your children, they will end up seeing that and they become molded, because children are like clay. And then they become, a disciplined adult who has a vision of who they want to be. I can only imagine this is another thing in Syria and other places that are these socialist communist countries that, when you have parents that are struggling and parents that are very not subversive, people that are very submissive to the government. You look at your parents and the same thing happens. It molds the children. They have to be submissive. They realize they can't complain. They realize that the government holds their life in their hand.
Jonathan, this is going to boggle your mind. When I went to work for Feed the Children, I was taken back by how many needy families are here in the United States.
Yeah.
1 out of 5 kids go to bed hungry every single night, right here in the United States. So in 2015, I was so taken back, I said, I want to study this even more. So I went back to school, and my wife thought I had 2 horns in my head. And I said, I want to study why people stay in poverty for multiple generations. And I studied sociology. And what we came out with was if you live in a bubble where you have the grandparent, the parent, and now the child, all they know is government assistance. That's all they know. That's the way of life.
Yep.
That's our fault for making them feel this way. If a kid steps out of that bubble and goes on his or her own, they become doctors, they become lawyers, they become successful, and they look back and say, hey, step out, come out. There's a world outside of government assistance.
Right.
And then I said, well, why are we feeding this cycle? And it's that power that some in the government want to have. And they say, okay, we will give you free housing, and we will give you free cell phones. We will even send you a van to take you shopping with your food stamps.
When I was on tour, selling my book and stuff, I went to one Indian reservation out in, I think this one was in Arizona, and I got to meet these Cherokee Indians, right? And for me, being American citizen and growing up in Arkansas and always hearing all these stories and movies about the Indians, and I got to meet this guy. He walks in and he just exuded this warrior look, of a Cherokee Indian. And I asked him, I started talking to him, and I said, man, you look like when I picture a Cherokee Indian, this warrior breed. And he said, you know why I look like I do? He said, because my father told me a long time ago, never take the money that's offered you to live on the reservation. As soon as you do that, your life belongs to the reservation, and you become beholden to that. He goes, our father never took that money, and we never lived on the reservation. And I thought that was very interesting, because everybody else that I saw that worked in and around the reservation, it was not a pretty sight. I mean, poverty was there, obesity, and you talk to people and they don't see past the reservation. They don't see past the casino where they work. This guy was amazing career, looked amazing, built, totally opposite of the people that lived on the reservation. And when I look at that, and I'm sure, people would say you can't say that in generalization about all Indians in America, and I'm not. But these were the words, his words, not mine. And when I sat back and I looked at it, it's exactly what you're talking about. I look and I see that these people, because of what they're given, they become helpless. They learn the helplessness from the thing that's given to them.
It becomes their way of life.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so I know you got to go, but let's close this off by saying, you became an American citizen. You had this business, you had these children, that life became like everybody else. You got into the grind of life, but you kept driving forward because I think you see things differently than somebody who was born here. What brought you, and we'll close with this, what brought you to become a mayor and then now running for Congress? And what is this actually like? I mean, is it a degrading experience? Is it an uplifting experience to run for these offices?
It's an incredible experience. It's just, I wish people can experience this. And I lived the American dream by having my own company. I went through the process and sold the company, and I went to work for the nonprofit and working for the churches, working with refugees, just now to give back. And it's just an amazing, amazing experience to say, look, God and this country gave me all this, the greatness, and now it's time for me to give back. Mm-hmm. So running for mayor, we're in the borough of Montvale. It's about 4 square miles. 9,000 people sleep in Montvale. About 35,000 people work in Montvale. We have natives of 44 countries that live in here. We speak 22 different languages, and there's only maybe 2 Syrians in this. This is not like I have a voting block.
Right.
And they love to say that our mayor is from Syria.
Right.
And I'm very proud to serve. I've been to their houses. I've been to their kitchen tables, talking about the issues, day in and day out. We laughed, we cried. I married people. I probably divorced people too. Mm-hmm. And then looking at what's happening with, just the talk of socialism might be coming here, talking about open borders. I'm like, I can't let this happen. Yeah. I still have more bandwidth, and I am going to give back to this country. I'm too old to run, to go to the army or things like that, but I can serve in Washington. I can serve with the president, with the administration. I can talk with authority to the immigration issues, to intelligence, to foreign policy. I can talk to why we need to secure our borders, why we have to fix healthcare, and get this, Jonathan, for the healthcare. I know we didn't talk much about this, but it's a major issue for me and for all of us. If you go to the restaurant right now and you order a meal, you know how much that meal will cost you to the penny.
Right.
If you have a stomach ache or you have this cough and you go to the hospital, you have no clue how much that will cost you.
Right.
And then you go home, and after a few months, you get more bills. Like surprise billing. Well, what did this doctor do? Well, he came in and he checked on you when you were there. Here's $500 bill, and you have no say in that. You can fight it. You can do all you want. You have no say.
Right.
There's no transparency. There's nothing you can do. It's a broken system. Needs to be fixed.
Right.
We have to make sure our military stays strong, because there are mean people out there, mean harm to us.
Right.
Make no mistake about this. Yes, we are free. We can walk around and we think we are secure, but there are people who are your friends all over the globe, in uniform and without uniform, making sure that we are safe 24 hours, 7 days a week, every single day.
Right.
And we take that for granted. So we have to make sure that those guys and gals, who are putting their lives on the line every single day, they have what they need. They have the security, they have the equipment, they have everything that they need. So we have to make sure our military is the strongest in the whole, in the whole globe. We have to make sure our country is strong. So we get the immigration. We have to fix that. It's a kick in the teeth, for me when I see people coming in and taking everything for free. When I waited for my turn and went through my process.
Right.
And now all you have to do is jump the border, and we will give you asylum, and you get everything for free.
Right.
That's a kick in the teeth for me.
None of this stuff is rocket science. And you've discovered probably from being a mayor, it's more of, can you sit down and see the problems and come up with effective solutions? That's what kills me about politics, is they don't really come up with solutions. There's nothing effective. It's all ideological. And as I always say, you can't change a light bulb with an ideology. You got to figure out what light bulb do we need, and you turn it off, let it get cooled, pull it down, and then put another one in there. There's a process of what's effective. And most people don't see that. And that's one thing I love about you, is that you have experience. You understand socialism. You understand our Constitution and capitalism, true democracy. You understand all these things, and freedom. And most people don't. And when you look at healthcare, when you look at immigration, these are things that not only you understand, but you've experienced from all angles.
Yes, and I can take that right to Washington, and I can stand there in front of Ilham Omar and Rashida Tlaib and all the socialists and all the left, the squad, and say, what you're saying, what you're doing is 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And this is why I can challenge them nose to nose, toe to toe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, let's do this. We'll cut it there, and then what we'll do is we'll have you back on when we decide, when you get a little bit further in your campaign.
I appreciate that.
And we'll have you come back on and maybe discuss some of these issues that we see in the news, and then get your take on that stuff.
Sounds good, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
You got it. Anything else you want to tell the people about your campaign, how they find you, everything?
I am on GhassaliForCongress.com, Ghassali for Congress.com.
And you have great social media. You're all over Twitter and Facebook and everything.
We're there.
God bless you. Listen, I know this is quick. You got other stuff that you got to do, but again, we'll have you on here some more. We'll discuss this some more. Go out there and continue to do what you're doing, because you're one of the people that are making America great.
Thank you, Jonathan. You're the best.
And thank you for being a great American citizen.
Thank you.
You got it. This is Jonathan Gilliam. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Experts with Mayor Mike Ghassali from Montvale, New Jersey. Listen, give him your support. Go check him out. It doesn't matter if you're from Montvale. Give him your support. This is what we need in Congress. Not 26-year-olds that have never done anything. Not socialists, not leftists. We need true American citizens. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. That's the truth. This is The Experts. We'll see you next time. God bless America. Peace. We're out.